You know, I probably should have included the EOS RP in this video. What is up, guys? My name is Levi. Welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about mirrorless cameras. If you are new to this channel, then you'd like to know I use and shoot Canon and have been getting into their mirrorless cameras recently. I've talked a little bit about it on the channel in the past, so if you've been around you would know that. You might have found me through my Canon M50 review or thoughts video. If not, that full review is linked below, and I will be doing a full review of the EOS R in the future. Today we're just talking about mirrorless cameras, specifically comparing Canon's sort of two main cameras. I won't be talking about the RP today. I've had a hands-on look at it and checked it out, and it's very cool. The purpose of this video is just to look at the sort of differences between the EOS R and the M50 and which one's right for you. If there's big differences in the quality, what the differences are, why you should go with one over the other, what they could be used for. That's pretty much it. So let's get into it. So the EOS M50 has been out for well over a year now, and I've been shooting with it regularly. I've shot a lot of commercial jobs with it. I've shot a lot of weddings with it. I even did one paid job with it for photography. Now, if you live in a big city or come from a place where the competition for videographers or photographers or whatever is very high, then that might be blasphemy to you. That might be like, what, are you kidding me? You shot a paid job with a crop censored camera. Now, it was just some headshots in my studio. It wasn't that big of a deal. I just was interested in how it would stack up and perform against, you know, a full frame photography camera. The job I was discounted. It wasn't a full, you know, I didn't charge the full rate I would if I was shooting, you know, a full frame camera, and it's not going on a billboard or anything like that. It was just some website photos. So those are the sorts of things I take in consideration when I'm you know, shooting a job like that. Sorry, getting off track. The EOS R versus the M50. What are the differences? Well, the main thing is obviously that the EOS R is full frame. That's a benefit when it comes to achieving the full focal length out of your lenses, things like that. Although I will play devil's advocate there and say that sometimes it is handy having 1.6, 1.7 time crop on a lens just to get that extra, you know, length out of it. It's not always necessary to, you know, always be shooting super wide. The other differences are or include the fact that the Canon EOS R in video mode shoots Canon s-loc, which I'm shooting in right now, color graded. And that I've found is really handy in a studio situation, outside. You know, you get far better dynamic range, things like that. So as far as that quality goes, especially obviously coming from the sensor directly, you definitely get a lot better performance. Now, on the video side, I'll just put up a couple of clips now of the M50, some shots I did inside a gym, filming an athlete, and that's sort of a couple of the shots that I took there. And then the next week I filmed exact same lighting conditions, things like that, with the EOS R shooting in s-loc, and you can see the difference there. Now, although the s-loc, the EOS R has a far better, in my opinion, far better dynamic range, a more professional look. Some people have, you know, messaged me and been like, hey, what was that shot on? That looks like, you know, cinema quality footage. And that is one thing that the EOS R does very well. It does put off like a bit of a C200 kind of vibe at times, but just comparing the footage here side by side, you can see sort of the main differences. Obviously the dynamic range in the EOS R footage, the shadows that are captured in the M50. But personally, the M50 has quite a unique look. It's quite cool. And although the dynamic range isn't as good in this condition, it gave it a cool effect. And so, again, I think that if you're looking at you know, what mirrorless camera should you buy, or you're trying to get into, you know, you're buying your first camera, don't write off the M50 just yet and say, I have to get a full frame, I have to get, you know, this thing. The big thing is, what are you using it for? The big thing is, how much are you charging your clients? I own two M50s. I own two full frame Canon cameras, and I use them for different purposes. The EOS R is gonna have far better low light performance. It's gonna perform far better at a higher ISO. I've found that the M50 does break down beyond 6400 ISO, things like that, when the EOS R can comfortably shoot up to about 12,800. Getting into the nitty gritty there, the sorts of things that you'll start to notice in the differences. And in my opinion, is the EOS R worth the extra dollars? Yes, it is, especially if you need it, especially if you need that extra dynamic range, especially if you need to bring a far more professional look to your videos, to provide that to your clients. You're charging at a higher rate. You can't just charge $500, $600, $800 for Facebook videos forever and use an M50. It's not doing your clients the best favor. Push yourself up your editing skills, up your production quality, but the gear you're using should reflect over time and help support you to create a better product. The Canon M50 for me is used as a B cam. It's a second shot, it's an alternative, it's a backup, or it's a set shot, say at a conference or a wedding, where you can get that 4K quality, or you can get that solid 1080p shot of a podium or a person speaking, whatever you need, while you're roaming around with the EOS R or 6D or whatever full frame option that I've got. So that's sort of how I use it. But when looking at shooting a wedding or something like that, for example, if that's something you're trying to get into, or you're trying to get into low-level corporate work, the M50 is a great starting point. It's pretty much my go-to camera for anyone wanting to go beyond their phone, or maybe just a small cyber shot, G7X kind of situation. Saying that, its price point is set at such a competitive place. It actually, something like the G7X Mark II, sort of the little digital camera type situation, is actually a similar price. So it's a little bit smaller and compact and all that sort of thing, but in my opinion, is a really solid choice for people wanting to start out, people wanting to get a backup camera, whatever it is. And it's purely because of what Canon have packed into that camera. Comparing the video specs of the EOS R full frame $3,000 body versus a Canon EOS M50, which is like $700. This is Australian, with a kit lens. It's got 4K, check. 1080p at 50 frames, check. 720p at 120 frames or 100 frames, check. There's actually not too much difference there. Obviously, once you get into photography side, things like that, shooting raw, shooting with a full frame sensor, your picture quality is just that much better, and especially for photography is a go-to for achieving an excellent result for your client. But the M50 is so compact and so good and so small, I usually just take that on holidays with me. Just for some family photos, I shoot, I use the M50 paired with my the EF EOS M adapter, Sigma 18-35, awesome combo, awesome quality, awesome focal length, great for portraits, family photos, scenery, a little vlog or a little Instagram video, whatever I'm gonna make while I'm away. It just does the job really well. So, getting back to our main purpose, comparing Canon's mirrorless cameras. There is definitely a progression and definitely a benefit in moving up through the ranks, moving from an M50 to an RP, from an RP to a Canon EOS R and beyond. But don't pressure yourself, don't rush yourself to get there. My dream is to get a C200. I'd love to own a C200 one day. But right now, the EOS R is perfectly suits my needs for what I need. I should be making another purchase in the camera world soon, and that's exciting, and I'll tell more details about that shortly. But yeah, I just think get a camera that is within a reasonable price range. Don't max out your credit card and go and buy something. Sorry Casey, don't risk. Don't take too much risk. You've always got to risk something. You've always got to risk something, but don't take too much risk in trying to achieve something that maybe you don't need for a longer period of time. I've been shooting for quite a while, and the EOS R has been out for quite a while, and it was on my shopping list. It was like something that I really wanted. We've had, in my personal life, other things that we've had to spend money on, and so that sort of made that purchase a little bit more drawn out, or had to wait longer than I wanted, but that's just the way it is sometimes. And I was lucky enough to have Canon come on board and help out with picking up this camera, so shout out to them. I was able to meet up with a rep and get hands-on experience and test out and compare it directly with the RP, things like that. They've been a massive support in making this a reality for me. So shout out to them for helping us out with this camera. I did pay for it. It was just a discounted price, yeah, that's exciting. See, he's just so cute. It's like his little brother. If I didn't make it clear before, basically the biggest difference in the video quality is the codec, or the bitrate in which the EOS R can shoot. So by attaching an external recorder, I know you're going to jump in the comments and say that, it can record up to 10-bit 4K, but again, for me, next year I'll be publishing more 4K content, but this year for me 1080 is fine, and so it sort of meets the requirements that I need for my production. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. So there it is there. The EF mount adapters working on each, works really well. A couple more things, battery life on the EOS R is obviously a lot better. M50 is quite draining, especially when shooting video. Shoot all day, you'll need 3 or 4 batteries for the EOS R. For the M50, EOS R you can get by on 1 or 2. The EOS R has a lot more attachability to ports on the sides. It's got a headphone monitor for audio, so that's really important when shooting jobs. For video, it's got no dual card slot for the EOS R. And when I was speaking with Canon about this, because for a lot of people it's a make or break thing, for me it's actually not. I don't need 2 card slots. I've never shot with 2 card slots. Maybe if I shot with them for a while, I would decide, or get so used to it that I could not live without that. But it's not a make or break thing for me. So yeah, when speaking with Canon, they said from their research and from their feedback they got from actual people shooting, it wasn't going to be a make or break thing. Obviously when they release a full top of the line 1DX kind of mirrorless option, that will most definitely have 2 card slots, but at this level they didn't see that it was necessary. They decided to put in other features as well. So yeah, that's sort of it. Obviously both have fully articulating, what do you call it, flip screens and stuff as well, so that's kind of handy. The EOS R has a far better digital viewfinder, and a couple more dials and knickknacks on the back to make it sort of a bit more advanced and a bit nicer as well. So yeah, that's just thought I'd add that in. If you have any questions about either of the cameras, drop them below. I hope it wasn't a super technical review of the specs versus specs versus specs. I'm just talking real world. I'm talking about what do you need, where are you at, what's your level. If you're starting out, I recommend picking up an M50. If you have been in the game for a little while and you're wanting to take your photography, videography, whatever it is, to the next level, definitely go with the EOS R, and that will definitely help you to sort of, again, grow into that and enable you to do more, to challenge yourself, to push yourself. And the biggest thing for me has always been putting good money into glass. So stuff that I shot on the M50 using Sigma Art lenses or Canon EF lenses, L series, people would say, oh, well, what was that shot on? And they would be very surprised. Even the guys at Canon. The guys at Canon were surprised when I was saying I was using a EOS M50 as a B cam. And basically that comes to whatever business culture or climate you are in. So for me, I'm in a small town, 150,000 people, and the ability to go beyond charging $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 a day for shoots there's a ceiling on that. In terms of how much people are willing to pay in a town for that sort of thing. In the city, it might be it'll be much higher, and you'll have the ability to sort of progress through getting a bigger rig, getting a bigger setup, and that climate. The expectations there are different. There's a lot more businesses willing to sort of pay more dollars for marketing or more dollars for promotions, and they're wanting to compete against other businesses to do that. So that's just sort of like, look at where you're at, look at what sort of city you're living in, who's your opposition, who's your competition, and what are they shooting with? What are they using, and what do you do? And what have you got to do to make your work stand out? I hope that was helpful. I hope this has been really helpful. Like I said, drop any questions down below if you have any, about the cameras, about shooting, about building a business. And I'm just grateful that you stopped by to watch this video. In the meantime, follow me on Instagram, link below, check me out on Facebook, and just say hi in the comments below. And until then, I'll see you next week. Cheers.